Hello, my name is Phil Easter, historian and writer from Baltimore, Maryland, also known as the Amazing Memory Man. We're recording tonight on Monday, July 15th, 2024. This is story number 58 on my YouTube channel, which is Phil Easter, the Amazing Memory Man. Tonight we look back 100 years to the Olympic Games that were held in Paris in July 1924. And actually, that was the second time the Olympics were in Paris. The first time was in 1900. But those Olympics were not too well organized, and actually it was part of a World's Fair that was also going on in Paris in 1900. But the 1924 Olympics were well organized, and one of the greatest performances in Olympic history occurred in the sport of track and field, where two runners from Finland, Paavo Nurmi and Willi Rittila, did some amazing things, especially Paavo Nurmi. He became the only person to ever win 5 gold medals in track in a single Olympics, and his teammate Rittila is the only person to ever win a total of 6 medals in track and field in one Olympics. 4 gold and 2 silver. And they're coming from a little country like Finland. It's really amazing how they won so many medals, and more than most other countries did in track and field. The games opened on July 5th, 1924, and the track and field competition began the next day on July 6th. That was a Sunday, and there were among other events, there were heats of the 100-meter race, and among the favorites were Charlie Paddock and Jackson Schultz of the United States, and also Harold Abrahams of Great Britain. Originally, Eric Liddell, the Scottish runner from Britain, was planning to run the 100 meters, but he was a very devout Christian. He found out that the heats were on a Sunday, and he did not believe it was right to do any sport on a Sunday. Even practice, let alone competition. So he withdrew from the 100 meters, but would still run the 200 and the 400 several days later. So on Monday, July 7th, was the final of the 100 meters. There were 6 runners, 4 from the United States, 1 from New Zealand, and Abrahams from Great Britain. And Abrahams won that race at the 100 meters in 1924. Abrahams and Liddell, many years later, in 1981, were immortalized in the Academy Award-winning film Chariots of Fire. And earlier this year, back in January, I did a story primarily about those 2 athletes, the runners from Chariots of Fire. But again, the really big track stars of the 24 Olympics were the runners from Finland. Now, the 10,000 meter race, Paavo Nurmi wanted to run that, but for some reason the French officials would not let him run the 10,000 meters on the track, and Rittila would win that. But on July 10th, 1924, Paavo Nurmi did something remarkable by winning the 5,000 meter race and the 1,500 meters, which is not quite 1 mile. The 5,000 is 3.1 miles. He won both the races with only about 1 hour of rest in between. 2 gold medals that day. And on July 12th, 1924, was the hottest day in Olympic history. Of any recorded modern Olympics, there was never a day as hot as it was in Paris on that day. One temperature thermometer reached 110 degrees. Unbelievable heat. And the scheduled event was the 10,000 meter cross-country race over hills and grassy areas. It would, I think, finish in the main stadium, I believe, where the spectators were. But it was 6.2 miles, mostly on cross-country, and they had to go over some fences too, obstacles. And there were 39 runners who started that race, and would you believe only 15 finished. Under these grueling conditions, 24 runners dropped out. And normally these men could run that distance without too much trouble, but it just shows you how difficult the conditions were. Over half the field couldn't even finish. What was unusual about this race was it not only counted as individual top 3 people would get a gold, silver, bronze medal, like every Olympic event. It was also a team competition, that there were 3 runners from a number of countries entered, had at least 3 runners. And the rule was all 3 had to finish to count towards a possible medal. If 2 of the runners finished, but 1 did not, no chance of getting a medal. And only 3 countries had all 3 guys finished because, again, only 15 out of 39 starters finished. And Finland, Paavo Nurmi came in first, so he won an individual gold medal for winning the race, but also his teammate Willi Ratola came in second, and another runner from Finland finished 9th place. But because at least he finished, and the first 2 places counted for so much, that all 3 received a gold medal. I know that sounds funny how a runner finishing 9th place wins a gold medal, but that was the rule of this race. It was both a team race and individual, both. And the 3 runners from France did well enough to finish in 2nd place overall for a silver medal. And the runners from the United States, although none of them finished in the top 3 individually, still they all finished and they received a bronze medal. But Paavo Nurmi winning 2 gold medals in that same race for winning individual and is also part of the team from Finland. His time for 6.2 miles was exactly 30 minutes to the second. Very consistent, half an hour, running 6.2 miles. It was the best time in the world at the time. And my God, it was a day where it was 110 degrees. Amazingly, he did not look that tired upon finishing somehow. He just did not seem to be as tired as people who came after him. And again, what a brutal race. Over half the field could not finish. And it was held at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a very hot time of day. The runners had begged the officials to move it back to 6 or 7 in the evening, but they refused to do that. And 2 of the runners went to the hospital, and there was some fear for their life for about 24 hours. But fortunately, they came through. It just shows you what a difficult race that day was in such conditions. And the next day was a 3,000 meter team race, which was it wasn't held too many times in the Olympics. They don't have that anymore. And so the runners from Finland won that. So Paavo Nurmi ended up winning 5 gold medals at those Paris Olympics, and Ritola won 4 gold and 2 silver. Another athlete that was interesting was from the United States, Harold Osborne, competed in both the high jump, the individual high jump, and also the decathlon, the 10 events in one. It's held over a 2-day period, of which the high jump is one of the 10 events. He's the only person in Olympic history to ever win an individual event and the decathlon in the same Olympics. So he won 2 gold medals. That's really amazing that he was so good at the high jump to be the best in the world, as well as being the overall outstanding athlete over 10 different events over a 2-day period. And like I say, that's never happened since. So many more people are competing nowadays in all these events. It'd be pretty difficult for someone to win the decathlon and also one of those individual events as a separate event. The great swimmer, Johnny Weissmuller, from the United States, won 3 gold medals at the Paris Olympics. And he went on to win 2 more in Amsterdam in 1928. And then shortly after that, he was recognized by the movie studios and became an actor and played in several of the Tarzan movies made during the 1930s. But again, he first gained recognition for winning 3 gold medals in swimming in 1924 in Paris. Also, a lady tennis player, Helen Wills, won the individual women's tennis gold medal. Helen Wills from the United States, winning that tennis championship. And then tennis was dropped from the Olympics and not held for many years, not until 1988, when the Olympics were in Seoul, South Korea, did tennis come back as an Olympic sport for both men and women. 1924 Olympics in Paris, one of the best Olympics prior to World War II. And as you all know, in less than 2 weeks from now, the beautiful city of Paris, sometimes called the City of Lights, will host the Olympics once again for the 3rd time, and exactly 100 years to the month after Paris 1924. This is Phil Easter, the Amazing Memory Man. We'll see you next time. Another story on another subject. Thank you and good night.